Well, hello again, and welcome back to Let's Discuss with John Barba. Hey, I wanted to share something that happened this last weekend with this group. Especially, I'm kind of speaking to the those of you that are of the same tender age that I am, and I just had a really unique opportunity that it was homecoming at my alma mater, which I'm not the biggest fan of my alma mater, but I'm a frat boy, so I was at the homecoming for my fraternity, and I had the chance to speak with some of the kids that were there that are current college students, and it was a very good perspective. And so what we're going to discuss on this little video is our youth. So uh, so many of us, and we heard this from our parents, right? That younger generation, they don't know what, blah blah blah, and so forth and so on. And as I start to get a little bit older, I start falling into that same trap, right? Oh, the youth, they just don't have any respect for things, and they don't have personal responsibility, and so forth and so on. Um, and there are some things that they need to work on. Let's be honest, they don't have the same sense of personal responsibility that I think I had at that age. Um, but at the same time, there are plenty of irresponsible things I did and that my friends did. Some of the same people that today are saying our youth don't have personal responsibility, they did some irresponsible, stupid stuff when they were young. And that's kind of why it's maybe worth this conversation, is that in talking with uh, both male and female students over the weekend, 20 somethings that are getting ready to graduate or are just now graduating and heading into the real world, um, they have a different perspective. They and what I found really interesting, not that I cornered people and talked about politics, but it came up, okay, just because there's so much of it in the news. And it was really interesting that there wasn't a single one of these kids. Now, understand, they go to an um, a university, a public university that is increasingly going to the left. I mean, my alma mater, I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I am from a conservative standpoint at a university that basically, in my opinion, shuts down free thought because they promote a single agenda. And I am not a huge fan of my alma mater. So I put that out to you. It's a leftist haven of socialism and wokeness that just it's very disappointing. And it's a reason that they don't see any of my money for sure and never will, because I cannot promote that. But despite the fact that that university has gone so far to the left and has shut down free speech and has shut down a conservative point of view. If you have a liberal point of view, you can be king. But if you have a conservative point of view, you're the devil. At least that's all the stuff when I get my little monthly mailer or email from the chancellor or whatever, that's what I see. Okay. despite all of that, there wasn't a single student I talked to that called themselves a Democrat or a Republican. Not a single one of them. As a matter of fact, several that I spoke with, and this is a little anecdotal, so I understand that part. But the there were a few that we got into a political conversation, and they specifically stated they don't consider themselves either. They don't see themselves as Democrats. They don't see themselves as Republicans. They see themselves as middle of the road. And here's where the discussion of our youth, um, and for those of you of my age, we maybe should be thinking about reconsidering some of our thoughts. You know, they probably, based on the anecdotal conversations that I had, they are probably more socially liberal than than I am, um, or we were at that age. But the most part, they were more fiscally conservative than we might have been at that age. All of them expressed significant concerns about the economy and the direction that our country is going in, and the direction that the administration is driving this country. Because a lot of these kids were either graduating or had just graduated from college. They remember when they were freshmen and there were really great opportunities for them to get their degree, get a good job, start their life, be fulfilled, have a career. They don't see that now. Right now, they're concerned. They're looking for jobs, can't find them. They aren't sure how they're going to start paying their student loans back because, the jobs that were available when they started their degree programs aren't available anymore. Uh, Companies are cutting back. And, a lot of these kids did very well in college. That doesn't help them. They still have to buy groceries, they still have to pay rent, they still have to, um, find a job that they can cover their basic existence. And our administration doesn't give them that opportunity. I mean, very few kids can actually, none of them that I spoke to said that they were positive about the direction of our country from from a fiscal standpoint. Um, None of them said that they were optimistic about the next few years. Um, you know, they also weren't big Trump supporters, okay? Uh, but they were absolutely not Biden supporters. And that was probably one of the biggest shockers that I got. Coming from a liberal university, all a lot of us here is how they're pumped full of socialist ideas, and therefore they're big Biden supporters and so forth. That's not true. That's not what I got. I got that they were scared to death that Biden would be president for another 4 years. They were scared to death of that because it meant they're going to have to live with their parents, right? They couldn't afford to start a life because they are not given opportunities that they have very little chance of being able to make it. And it was a very interesting experience because it's not what I expected. It was absolutely not what I expected. I absolutely felt they would tote the line and, wave their Biden is a great guy flag, and we love and support him, and they want to see change, and it's not what you hear in the news. So if you don't have a 20-something-year-old as a as in as one of your children, um, but you're concerned about the 20-something-year-olds, our next generation of leaders, should reach out to one, have a little conversation, find out what's important to them. Like I said, socially, they're probably more conservative or more liberal than you are. And you know what? Um, okay. Because as we've talked about in other videos, you know, how you want to lead your life is your decision, right? And I was okay with their more liberal points of view on social issues because they can believe what they want to believe. They have that right. It's still a free country for now. Um, but when they vote for people that write checks we can't cash, when they vote for people that hurt business and they hurt people's ability to pay for the basics because of a socialist slash communist agenda, takeover of our economy, um, then that affects me. That absolutely affects me. And it affects you. And so keep keep some hope for the future. Keep a positive perspective of the future because they're not as socialist as you think they are. They're certainly not socialists from a fiscal standpoint. They want opportunity too. They want careers. They want to be able to lead a healthy financial life. And they're going to vote accordingly. Everyone I talk to is going to vote accordingly. And there's actually a chance for us. There's actually a chance for us. So for those of you that are more conservative and you've been, worried that you might have to wear a hammer and sickle on your lapel, maybe not tomorrow. It's still a concern. Still need to be careful. Still need to be vigilant. But it may be that the socialists have made it so bad in this country that our youth is saying this isn't what I was brought up on. This isn't what I was promised. And I want to change. Have a blessed day. Reach out to a 20-something-year-old, get their opinions, help them, and be inspired by them.